Hey everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Elden Dogs. I am online. I have played multiplayer before in my life. It was called Halo 2, but today we are going to be talking about some other multiplayer. My name is Gideon Offneer, and I don't know much about today's topic. We are joined, of course, again by Alexander.
Yes, I'm here. I played a lot of online growing up. I think I've played the most Modern Warfare 2 out of anything. So I've been offline since like then. I'm a single player kind of guy. So today's topic, I know nothing. Zero, zilch.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research, so I know a little bit. I mean, I've played some of the Coliseum, but I am still very blind. But that's why we brought in two guests today to assist us in this. On the modding side of the discussion, we have Blythe returning.
Oh, yeah. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I also get bored easily enough that I try every mod pack I can get my hands on.
Well, when I come to the bar and you are surrounded by 30 customers and you're like, dude, I was playing this mod. The fire giant was in a different arena. It was crazy.
Actually, beyond cruel. Yeah. Also, one of them essentially just quadruples his health pool, turning it into a 45-minute fight.
Yeah. I remember you saying you got stuck there.
Oh, yeah. With like 4 different characters on that one mod pack. It's just like the impenetrable wall of the fire giant with like 2.3 million health or something ridiculous.
I would like a mod that changed all of the like main bosses in the game to WWF Attitude Era wrestlers.
Instead of just Godfrey.
Yeah, I want all of them.
We are doing, if you're listening to this on Patreon, you're going to hear this in time to know that we're doing a WrestleMania Christmas, and I have been doing a little bit of research getting ready for WrestleMania 17.
Did you watch it yet?
No, because we're going to hopefully watch it together.
Yes, that's a good move.
We are also joined to help us understand the world of multiplayer by a longtime friend of the podcast, Bryant.
Hi there.
How's it going today, bud?
Good. Can I be Hugh? Is that taken in the Elden Dogs community?
The blacksmith.
There is not.
Yeah.
You are the first misbegotten member of the show.
That's a good one.
Sweet. I'll take it. But yeah, I play a lot of Elden Ring multiplayer. Like you guys, I don't play multiplayer much, but I play a lot of Elden Ring multiplayer.
You probably have played more Elden Ring than I would guess Tyler and I put together.
Yeah, just the other day, Twitch notified me that I logged like something like 300 hours of Elden Ring. So I play a lot.
Oh, yeah. I'm probably at about 225, actually.
I'm at like 160.
I have literally no idea because everything I do modded doesn't count toward my playtime.
Yeah.
Because I have to do it all offline. I think my Steam playtime is like 240. And then God knows how much more on mod packs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that 300 hours is just multiplayer. So I put way more time into Elden Ring than I care to admit.
How many times do you think you've completed the game?
I've completed the game 8 times, and those were very thorough playthroughs, so I've played a ton. 2 of those were multiplayer. 2 of those were done in co-op.
Well, that's a good segue. What the fuck is Elden Ring co-op? How does it function?
Not great. A lot of modders have made seamless co-ops, but
God, yeah.
I've played. We just started a 3rd playthrough with my sister, and there's you have to summon them in with each catacomb, cave, everything that you want to do. You have to summon the other player in, and so if you're doing it true co-op, we have to do each instance twice. We run it on her end, then we run it on my end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the progress only counts toward the host.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, man, that is rough.
Yeah.
Well, and add to that the frequent invasions, and it takes on a whole nother aspect of where you're learning to play against people trying to kill you while also dealing with the environment. So it's kind of an interesting way to play.
I think that would be most exciting for me with the multiplayer. I like the concept of someone just showing up and fucking your game up.
I'm not afraid to admit that the majority of my multiplayer in Elden Ring has been as an invader.
Yeah.
I'm a giant asshole.
And it's kind of lore accurate too. You have to choose if you're like a bloody finger or a recusant. So it kind of does logic, like it makes a logical sense in the game. So we're going to start very simple stuff. Top entry online features of Elden Ring, there's the first thing with writing messages. I will admit I have written maybe 2 messages in my entire playthrough just because I felt like I had to try it, and that was pretty much it. Do you guys do anything with the messages?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
You guys write messages?
I try to troll as often as possible. If there's a cliff, I'm putting jump. If I find like a secret wall, I put like no path ahead. Like I actively go out of my way to fuck people over.
You find a long enough blank hallway, you just put a message that says secret wall every 10 to 15 feet.
That's interesting. I didn't know that you were a troll.
Yeah, well, and then sometimes behind the wall, I'll put like, you did it. Like, you didn't listen to me. You got it. Way to go. I don't troll hardly at all ever in any game at all. But for some reason, Elden Ring, I was like, this game's already hard enough.
And you almost want to get even. If somebody else is fucking with you, you're like, all right, well, I have to just get in on this too.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are a couple, I forget what they're officially called in game, but like groups essentially.
Yeah.
Where you can set like your group passcodes. I think you can have up to 5 set on each character.
Yeah.
And then all the messages from people in that same group will be brighter. They'll have a little ring around them. Mm-hmm. So there was one that I had active on my character for a while that was like this secret hunter group. So basically all of the messages that would pop up there were for things like illusory walls or hidden switches or like the whole hidden drop back behind the elevator thing. Almost every time one of those secrets existed, there would be a message from that group for it.
It's, there's 2 different systems. There's the multiplayer password and the group password. And that's one of those things that I put in very early on when I was starting. So I was in like the Vati Vidya group.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Bonfire Side chat group. So, make sure that you see more of their messages, or if you do summoning, like you're likely to get their stuff there or see their blood trails.
Right.
Okay, so if you have the same group password and somebody in your group defeats a major boss, you will get a buff granting extra runes.
Oh, yeah.
Really? That's actually pretty awesome.
Well, and like you said, Brad, if you subscribe to like the big ones like Fextra and that, you'll pretty much get constant rune buff generation, even to this day. You're just constantly getting that buff.
Yeah, and something with messages too. If somebody rates your messages good, you receive a flask of Crimson Tears worth of health at no cost.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories of people about to get owned by a boss, and they all of a sudden someone likes their message and it saves them. And that's the craziest thing.
There's a lot of them that will spoil content. Like, so whenever you get to one of those areas with like invisible bridges or walkways and things, and you see just the path of messages like showing the way, I find that kind of interesting. I don't read messages much anymore at this point, but early on in my playthroughs, I thought they were a lot of fun. Just seeing who was the troll, who wasn't, who was being helpful. Really cool aspect of the game.
Yeah, it's got a weird like multiplayer, single player feel, kind of like Death Stranding, where you feel other people are fucking around in the world, and you kind of feel the effects of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I did not like that in Death Stranding at all.
Oh, really?
Or Elden Ring, but I've come around to the idea of it now, and I actually think it's probably one of my favorite uses of online multiplayer that exists in current games.
If I go back to Death Stranding, there will be bridges that I use for my playthrough the whole way through that will no longer be there because somebody else made them. They became part of my path, and they won't be there next time because no one made them. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, and there are all the memes too. Early on, the message, all the memes like finger butthole, and then you had all the turtles that were called dog.
Oh, yeah.
One of my kids actually has a shirt with a turtle on it that says dog. It's kind of funny.
At least you didn't get the try-finger butthole shirt.
And those don't come in kids.
Hopefully.
The only time that I would feel super convinced I should leave a message is if I did some of those crazy jumps. I've seen somebody get up like super high in Caelid to like those highest branches you're not supposed to get to. And, if I do torrent jumping up to there, I would leave a message.
It is weird when you see one like floating way off up high somewhere and you're like, how the fuck did somebody get up there?
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of people using like the posing system too, because you can leave a ghost of yourself on top of your message doing one of the emotes. So I've seen ones with like similar to the tri-finger butthole. There's the 2 suits of armor in the round table hold where they just do the half T pose and it's just try two-handing.
So the multiplayer system, before I looked into it at all, I found it just very obtuse and very confusing. There's like, use a wizened something finger or a furled finger to become a duelist. A counter evasion could occur with a blue cipher ring. And there's just, everything I just said is wrong, but that's me trying to explain what I understood.
I'm actually a big fan of the cipher rings in Elden Ring.
Me too.
I was a big part of that in like Dark Souls 2 and 3, those kind of counter invasion, like protection covenants that you could do.
Okay, so that's what a cipher ring does.
Yeah, essentially, if you're wearing the white cipher ring, you mark yourself as protected. So if you get invaded, it'll automatically find you a hunter, someone who has the blue cipher ring, to bring into your world to protect you from the invader.
It just sounds too much like sphincter ring.
Your mind is broken, dude.
Which would just be more butthole jokes.
Well, and with the hunter ring, even if you don't like multiplayer, if you're just, fucking around in Elden Ring and you want to earn some extra rune arcs, it's a good way to just help out, to get someone in and get a free rune arc if you can kill the invader.
Oh, yeah.
That comes down to me not using rune arcs either. My first playthrough, I was like, I better save these. And then you wind up not even using them at Melania. And so I've been much more liberal with my rune arcs. But then there's also a special great rune for multiplayer, right? Isn't Moog specifically helpful for multiplayer?
Can be. If, again, you're an asshole that loves invading people.
It's for invading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Primarily.
What does this great rune do for multiplayer?
It, if I recall correctly, you can use it after you've invaded someone to essentially drive the regular monsters around them insane.
Oh, geez.
And make them more aggressive and make them deal more damage.
It grants a blessing to summoned phantoms and imparts a phantom great rune upon successful invasion. And a phantom great rune is an item only for online play. Enemies inside the invaded world receive a blessing of blood, which boosts their attack power when blood loss occurs nearby. So, Moog's stuff is, unless you're doing multiplayer, it is a useless rune.
You could make a rune bear even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
By driving them into the same blood frenzy that you get in Moog's Palace.
Don't need that. That's bad.
Can I just say, though, any decent player is going to know about the environmental hazards. So when an invasion happens, when I play with my sister, we're real careful to not let these invaders lure us into the worst spots of the game. We know better. So if they're going to get us, they got to come and fight us fair and square. So that rune, I think, has pretty limited potential against any player that knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get invaded, you and your sister, you're going through a dungeon, you're at the Karian Manor or something, and then he says, invaded by so-and-so. Do you have to, if you leave a certain area of the manor, does the invader just, get spawned out then? Do they have to, track you down? How does that work with the invader? Do they know where you're at?
No, they just have a thing on their compass that kind of gives them a directional cue. If we hit a boss fog, they'll get severed. Otherwise, they got to come find us. Sometimes we'll get a hunter that will come in and help out. I will say that early on in the game, just based on where it's at right now, there aren't a lot of players playing at lower levels. So unless you're just being a troll, we got invaded at Gatefront the other day by this guy named Potato, and he was just trolling. He had a poison bleed build. He was just waiting for people to invade there at Gatefront. But most of the time, you're not going to get hit with invasions until you reach the level meta, which is about 150. So once you get into the higher level zones like Altus, that's when you start getting invaded without fail. Within the first 5 minutes of playing, it's just going to hit you every single time. So that's when you have to kind of prepare to deal with these guys.
You're more likely to get invaded in certain areas than in other areas, but
for sure.
I'm trying to understand.
If it helps, I think what you're driving at, you are region locked when playing multiplayer at all.
Region locked in the game or
no in the game. So if you're
if
you're inside, say, a catacomb or a dungeon,
yeah,
you cannot leave that catacomb or dungeon while playing multiplayer.
Yeah,
whether it's co-op or if you get invaded, you get locked in. So if you're inside a dungeon and you're being chased by an invader, you can, like he said, hit the boss room. That'll get rid of them, but then you're stuck fighting the boss immediately.
Okay.
Well, and to clarify from what I said earlier about the level meta, so you can only be invaded by folks that are like 20 to 30 levels above or below you.
Yeah.
So most of the time, if you're like in the early areas of the game, you're not going to see a lot of invaders because most invaders are higher level than you.
And you get locked to within, if I remember correctly, if Elden Ring still used this mechanic from the old Dark Souls games, you get locked into upgrade tiers as well. If your primary equip weapon is +8, you can't be invaded by someone that has a +2.
Yeah, I read something about that.
Yeah, they're locked in, I think, 3, maybe 4 tiers of upgrade levels.
Would you say that the invasion, the way that it works out based off level and upgrade tiers is fair? Is the game balanced when you're playing it online? Like when you get invaded, are you just getting murked? Like you mentioned the poison bleed build guy that's just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the game is balanced pretty well?
In theory, yes, but given the particulars of invasion, whether you're playing multiplayer and or have those cipher rings on, most of the time if you're invaded, you're looking at a 3, maybe 2v1.
Yeah.
Always.
Oof.
But the invader gets the environment helping them out. So and 9 times out of 10 they're using that. They're using some kind of trick build like bleed or poison or madness, and then they're trying to goad us into letting the environment help kill us. They're trying to lure us into the traps, into the difficult enemies, things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Occasionally though, you get an invader who's just legit good, and he'll wait for us to finish whatever we're doing. They'll even gesture, and then they make it a fair fight. And most of the time, those are the invaders that end up killing us, not the guys like trying to trick us into traps and things.
No, the honorable ones.
Yes, they are very good at what they do.
I watched this. I was trying to just watch videos about multiplayer and, watch highlights or this or that. And I wound up watching this YouTuber named Radovind. And it was a little too much like edited towards kids. It had like some zany sound effects, but they had like the Stormveil disguise compilation. And he wears like the black feather assassin garb, and he kills one of the birds, and then he goes and stands and does a T-pose up where the bird was, and the invader just keeps walking by because it just looks like a bird up there. Or he'll dress up like a certain enemy and just walk in that same path as the enemy just to fuck with them. And that stuff's great. And that's like where the Mimic's Veil comes into play too, where you can just turn into parts of the environment.
Oh, for sure. I use it all the time.
Because does that work in single player, the Mimic's Veil, to like hide from enemies? I guess it maybe.
Not from enemies, but you can hide from invaders. I don't think it works on enemies.
Classic Solid Snake move.
You got to have the trick mirrors too if you want to pull off those dress up things.
The trick mirrors.
Yeah, they're where they kind of obfuscate what character you are. You can wear one that makes you look like you're a co-op player. You can wear one that makes you look like the main player.
Yeah.
To kind of try and trick invaders into fighting the wrong person.
Is that what those do?
Yeah, because the invader only has to kill the host to win.
Oh, man.
So if your co-op partner's wearing the host mirror and you, the host, is wearing the co-op mirror, they're going to be trying to attack the wrong person.
That makes sense now.
Can I just say, though, those things take up a talisman slot. And I don't know about you guys, but I will never waste a talisman slot on something like that.
Oh, unless you're doing like those troll videos or like just trying to make content. Yeah, it's hilarious at that point.
Yeah, no, I need my talisman spots. I'm cheesing and handicapped all the way through this game, forever and always. So let's
identify the multiplayer roles, because that's how the strategy guide, when I look through it, that's where it starts, by defining multiplayer roles. So the host of the fingers, it means you're hosting the session by either summoning other players into the world with their summon signs or being invaded by opposing players. You can normally have up to 2 cooperators and 1 invader present, but if you want to use the Taunter's Tongue, you can limit this to a single cooperator and a second invader if you want to be baller.
Yeah, for the proper 2v2.
Yeah, for fair. Defeating the boss will result in your allies being sent home with a small reward, a rune arc, and a furl calling finger remedy. So that's the host of the fingers. Essentially, you're hosting the game. And
you're the hand.
They come to your they come to your rule. This is the host finger, and then everyone else comes to your world. The hunter is a counter invasion role. We mentioned the hunters before, wherein you act activate the blue cipher ring to enter a standby state during which you will be automatically summoned when they need you. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
With standby state, can you still run around and do your stuff and then you're just yoinked into their world? Is that how standby works?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
It means
you
that
keep playing.
as long as you're in the same region of the map, you can get pulled there. Dungeons, like catacombs, all those things count within map regions. So you have to be in Liurnia to be summoned to somewhere in Liurnia.
I love watching a video of, it's like a host and 2 cooperators all dressed up as Albinarics wearing, like, wielding clubs, and just like, they're just waiting, like smacking their clubs, like, come over here. Just like a gang down an alley. It's so funny.
One thing about that hunter ring, one thing that's annoying is if you do get yoinked into someone else's world and you had like a summon active or your physic, it's going to, just like you're reinstancing, so it's going to reset that when you come back and you'll be without it. So I've had instances where I'm fighting a boss and I go help be a hunter and invade and all that, and then it yanks me back into the boss and I've just completely lost everything. So
Godric is just sitting there confused, twiddling 20 thumbs, waiting for you to come back.
Exactly.
You do have to be careful to toggle it back off if you're trying to make real progress in your own world, for sure.
Yeah, if you're halfway through a boss fight, that's funny that it just drops you back in. A furled finger is where you offer your aid to a host of fingers as their ally. You will escort the host through the current area while fending off invaders and other enemies, and then assist fighting the boss. You're there until the boss is done. Help beat the invaders.
Any region boss, by the way, for co-op. If you get pulled in,
boss.
Yeah, any region or roaming boss. So if you get pulled in and they're trying to fight, one of the Knights Cavalry, and you accidentally bump into the big gold guy at the beginning, whose name I forget because I haven't started a new game in forever.
The Tree Sentinel?
Yeah, and you accidentally bump into the Tree Sentinel. If you kill the Tree Sentinel, you're getting disconnected.
Okay, any boss.
Any boss, yeah.
Even patches.
Oh, man. I used to do the same crap in Dark Souls 2, I think. Very similar to the Hunter Ring, the Blue Cipher Ring, except you could join 2 different covenants that completely revolved around defending areas of the game instead of other players. There was like the Defenders of the Rotten Forest or the Marsh or something.
Yeah.
And then there was like the Rat King's Covenant where you would defend this one stretch of sewer. So you would just get randomly summoned as a quote unquote invader into another player's world to fight on behalf of the monsters in that area.
Yeah, that's part of how factions work in like Souls games, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's something that's kind of more thought out in Dark Souls, and I think Bloodborne flirts with it, but the fact that they have factions that kind of define your multiplayer group.
Oh, absolutely.
They have that a little bit here with Recusants and Bloody Fingers, but I've heard people say it's kind of half-baked for Elden Ring.
I did wish that they kind of fleshed out the Blue Cipher Ring a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because like in Dark Souls 2, it was an entire covenant that you could play through and upgrade your bond to the covenant by continually defending other people. And in this one, it's kind of like, yeah, you can go help them out, but then that's kind of it. You're going to get your rune arc and not much else.
Yeah, that reminds me of Destiny. When I used to play that, you'd choose a faction for like the Iron Banner.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Duelists are where you place a competitive summon sign on the ground or in nearby summoning pools, signaling your request for a duel. And that's just defeat the host of fingers. Does dueling function any different than in Invasions? It's
only that it's optional. You're placing a sign on the ground for them to choose to summon you to fight.
Okay. So this is kind of like how it works in single player with certain NPCs that you like choose to invade or go into, like when you choose to fight Sorceress, Selen.
Right.
Yeah, you see their mark and you choose to go in, kind of like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's out of fashion now since the Colosseum started.
Yeah, it used to be a real thing before the Colosseums that they would meet up at the Academy in that circle area. And there was sort of an etiquette to dueling where, you wouldn't pull tricks, you wouldn't do shenanigans and stuff. And I think I didn't do a lot of dueling, but there was the expectation that you wouldn't use a lot of flasks either. I mean, other than the physic. But that, yeah, I think that sort of went with the Colosseums.
Well, the Coliseum just made it essentially redundant. Like
Yeah.
the Coliseum having
Right.
actual matchmaking, actual locked in zones made it unnecessary for us to have to go to one spot to drop duelist signs.
I do like that players picked a spot and made like it had like an honor code about it though. That is pretty badass.
Every Dark Souls game, yeah, has had like the spot for duelist signs.
That's awesome.
Did you play Bloodborne?
Yeah. I didn't beat that one. But I played a bunch back
this
in
is
the
just a PlayStation 4 exclusive still.
Yeah.
What was the Bloodborne spot?
That's a good question.
Do you know where the Bloodborne spot was?
No, I am waiting on that remake, but I might be waiting a long time.
Man, I am waiting too. I want to do a replay, but I feel like a remake must be coming, so I'm not doing it yet.
Of all the Soulsborns, I think I played Bloodborne the least. I like got into the Chalice dungeons and screwed around for a while and then just kind of fell off.
Well, that'll kill your momentum.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
hard as anything, those Chalice dungeons. Then the other roles would be Bloody Fingers and Recusants. It's invading a host of fingers, and you just have a name, essentially.
Yep.
We talked about the blue cipher ring and the white cipher ring. We talked about the mirror talismans. So then there's the summon sign or like the effigies. How do the effigies and summon signs work? Because you can like choose to be representative for just one spot or like the whole region, right?
Yeah. Like all the summoning pools, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you place using the effigy in the summoning pools, you can essentially just choose to be like just right here, or you can send it out to like almost any summoning pool if you just want to help someone somewhere.
Yeah, so that was patched in. So initially, the effigies would show you where there was multiplayer activity. So because wherever you put your sign down, that's kind of where you would summon in. But they, I think one of the 1.04, 1.05, 1.6 time period, they patched it to where you could just say, I want to be local, or you could say, I want to be far and wide. And so that kind of killed the need for those effigies because you could just throw your sign down and be summoned up anywhere in the lands between. So
Yeah, I tried dropping my summon sign at a few spots, and I feel like some places like nothing happened, even though I selected far and wide. But outside of Melania, when I said I wanted to help, I got summoned almost immediately from somebody. It's like, yes, thank you, help.
Oh, yeah.
And you go in there and you try and help, and they just get destroyed in 10 seconds and you get kicked back. I remember what I was thinking of saying earlier. It just lightning bolt. So let's say that you missed an item in Lanedell before it gets turned to the Ashen Capital. If you get summoned into somebody else's Lanedell, you can collect materials there, and you can collect like something you missed in their world and bring it back to yours.
Can you duplicate things though? Could you pick up something in your world like a weapon and then pick it up in theirs, and now you have two badass?
According to privacy policies, we can't talk about that. I believe you can collect materials, but not items.
that's correct.
Only with consumables.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, you won't be able to pick up, say, a second great sword from
Yeah.
the chest. Yeah.
So I couldn't just cheese my way into two bloodhound fangs right away.
No.
Wow.
The only way to do that is to have them, that other person, give you their copy of it that they got. Then you can get a second one. Or if it's something that can be dropped by an enemy, you can still farm them in other people's world.
Oh, that's cool.
But anything that's like an actual world drop won't appear for you.
It's so confusing to me. All of this experience, all of the multiplayer, I'm still just, it's like speaking another language. And I have read a lot about Elden Ring. I've talked a lot about Elden Ring.
You can pronounce all the names properly.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
You can do a couple.
I'm getting there, bud.
You are Kel and Goodburger saying, oh, I know some of these words.
So it is interesting. You can't get anything non-consumable like smithing mats and weapons and whatnot. But one thing that is sort of semi-rare in a single player, and you mentioned not using them, Brad, is those rune arcs. If you play multiplayer, you will be drowning in rune arcs, and it's as someone who has come from single player and always asking myself, do I want to use that rune arc? Am I going to lose it? I got to really save these things. Once you get into multiplayer, man, you're popping those things like crazy.
Yeah.
Like Skittles.
Oh, yeah. So many.
Like high lifes.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Something that you can do, which is very weird to me, is you can trade. You can trade items when you're in these other worlds too.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that, Tyler?
I did not. But he just kind of mentioned if someone like gave me their copy of a weapon.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to get second copies.
Yeah. It's so weird that I've never tried that where you can drop an item and it shows a little icon on the ground. I've never seen it in person before.
This is how I was able to do a non-New Game Plus playthrough with Malekith's Black Blade. I had that thing from the get-go thanks to multiplayer and was not able to use it for a long time, but it was great.
But you can't pick up items that are, if you don't have anything that's +5, you can't pick up a +5 or higher thing, I believe.
Yeah.
You have to have a weapon at least the same tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you cannot leave sorceries, incantations, and ashes of war.
Yeah, just actual items, not conceptualized ideas.
You can't drop a gesture. Well, you can use one, but you can't pick it up and be able to use it and stuff. Yeah.
On that same note, like you said earlier, all the like troll videos of multiplayer, especially, I've seen a lot of guys that do the have 2 co-op partners in their game, and then they'll go to some secluded place, whether it's a raised platform, one of the ruins in Liornia or something like that, and they would drop a bunch of really low value items so that there's a pile of weapons and armor and all this stuff sitting in one spot. They would all go Mimic's Veil, hide, and wait for someone to try and grab all of the loot.
That's a trap, run!
And just completely annihilate these poor guys.
I love that so much. Unless you get fucked with your trap, someone Hoarfrost stomps you, and then they grab all the items you were expecting them not to get.
Well, yeah, but you drop, 3 crappy little single daggers that you got from...
Does this say, can you kind of see what the item is on the ground at all?
It just shows an icon for what type of item it is. It'll show a little icon showing a weapon or an armor piece, something like that, or material.
Yeah, you won't know what it is until you're standing over it looting it. It's just a floaty icon.
That would have got me so good. I would have saw all the icons and been like, "Oh, look at free stuff, garage sale."
Yeah, and it's cool that they don't just look like a glowing white light like other items do. The fact that they actually have an icon
to show that a character or a player put it on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the multiplayer is kind of poorly explained in the game. They actually for a while
it is.
Yeah, I mean it definitely is. It's just not something that I feel like is telegraphed properly, and they even make you do it to do some of White Mask Vari's quests where you have to invade somebody.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. They made it possible to do offline because people didn't want to go online, and that was like a weird gatekeeping thing. But
yeah,
you pick up, Furl Calling Finger Remedy, and I'm like, I don't know, pass. I can I throw this at someone? Then I have no use for this thing. It's just this. I'd like to see the stats for how many people play the multiplayer or actively participate, because it's something that it was not a part of my life at all in Elden Ring. And I consider Elden Ring one of my favorite games of all time. And it's just still a bizarre thing that it's out of my reach, I feel like. I just don't get it.
When we do our playthroughs, we'll see the same players some nights over and over again. We'll get invaded by the same player and we're like, oh, it's this build again. Let's deal with it. So yeah, it's definitely...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a small community.
Do you have a name of a player you could call out, or like a build that was constantly plaguing you?
Well, like I said, there was Potato the other night, and that guy was trolling us at Gatefront. So kind of funny. He had Poison Bleed, and we caught on to his tricks pretty quick, though. But he did get us the first time. There's another guy that likes to camp out. Do you know the area in the Hallig Tree where you do Millicent's quest, where there's the ulcerated tree spirit in a rot pond next to a cliff?
Yeah.
That's a spot where the same invaders will show up time after time again. Yeah, and man, I hate those guys.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd rather have Millicent's 4 sisters or Potato. I mean, it's a lose-lose situation.
I went through a period where, I would just nonstop invade people in the Celia Crystal Tunnel.
Yeah?
Right after you go through the transporter trap, I'd just be waiting there for them.
Just a real dick.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Not only is it bad enough, you have 10 pests ready to fuck you up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I went over there real low level too, just knowing that they'd get fucked up going through that trap.
Yeah. Smoke a cig while you wait. Something that they did to make multiplayer a little more understandable for everybody was Coliseum, a free DLC released December 7th of last year, 2022. And these Coliseums were existing in the world beforehand. Everyone looked at them. They said, wow, that looks like something. And then you have YouTubers going into the maps, like looking at the data, and they're able to take a camera in there and they're like, well, it's finished. There's something to do in here. So it seemed like something was going to happen. And yeah, this opened up the 3 previously inaccessible Coliseums in Limgrave, Caelid, and Lanedell. The DLC also included 5 new hairstyles as well. We must remember the hairstyles.
Need that.
It's important.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just got the new hairstyle man bun, actually,
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes. Alexander has a man bun now. I discovered...
You ate 3 hipsters and you got one.
I ate a couple hipsters in Farmazula when I was at the Menzingers show and realized that I could do it.
No, that was in the Weeping Peninsula.
Yes, the Weeping Peninsula. That's where it was. They sold it out.
Farmazula, that's like going to New Zealand or something, man.
Yeah, no, it was the Weeping Peninsula. They sold out.
Castle Morn?
Yep, Castle Morn. It was great.
That's a big venue.
It was.
Yeah, big venue.
If not for the Civil War.
Yeah, poor bastards. Level requirement for Coliseum, you can't go in unless you're level 80, which I was interested to hear that. They're like, oh, fuck off, dude. You don't have the right ID. You can't come in.
You must be this tall to ride this ride.
Level 79. Fuck.
It's like in SpongeBob when he's like, "What'd you have for breakfast?" And he's like, "Nails without any milk." And they're like, "Go right in, go right in."
Spittoon today.
It's confusing because the first one you find's in Limgrave,
Yeah.
and there's no way you're level 80.
No. Especially for like new players because, I mean, people that have been playing since the beginning, they're ready.
Right.
When you run up to it for the first time, don't you get invaded right away?
You get invaded by... That's a Volcano Manor quest.
Yeah, there's an invasion.
Old Knight
sign
Isfin.
there for
Yes.
Isfin, yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
felt so bad about that, dude.
he's a nice old guy. He helped you fight some demi-humans,
Exactly.
maybe. Like,
The
come on.
first time I fought him for the Volcano Manor, I never went into that cave. So he never even helped me. And I found out on my second playthrough that he helps you there. And I felt like such an asshole.
Yeah, you just had to go sucker punch some old guy you never met before.
There's him, but there's a dude that invades you there before that. Like when you're first starting out, he's the dude that murders Dialos's maiden. And he invades you. He's got that big mace.
Yeah.
And then later on, you go back.
Yeah, we talked about him on the Bestiary episode, the first one, because if you defeat all of the bosses in the area, he won't spawn in, oddly enough, which is weird.
Oh, that's that guy.
That's that guy. I think it's Henricus, maybe. Yeah. Once you enter the Colosseums, you can access them in the Round Table Hold. There's just one Statue of America, and you can access all the Colosseum stuff there, which is nice, convenient. Respawning players are accompanied... Okay, so this is if you're in like a multiplayer one where it's... Or not even multiplayer. If you're in like a time limit, whoever gets the like deathmatch, the most kills in a time limit, you respawn with a holy damage area of effect. So if somebody tries to just wait for you to just spawn in, there is some holy damage AoE, and you get some iframes as well, which is nice. I mean, I don't know why I guess I don't do a lot of multiplayer in other things, but spawn campers in Halo was a plague. And if you just spawn in and have invincibility, for like the first minute, that'd be nice. Or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say a minute.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of damage in a minute.
I can do a lot of damage. I will die 10 times in a minute, dude.
Well, they do that with Red Dead Online. When you spawn in, you have a brief window of time where you're invincible or you can't be harmed because people they like to grief you on there. I mean, that's all that game has devolved into is just griefing people who are just trying to make a simple batch of moonshine.
Well, it is Grand Theft Auto with cowboys, so it makes
It is
sense.
true.
Following the same, formula.
What happened, man? Back in the day, I could play online games all the time and it made sense. I tried to play Grand Theft Auto online and it was just... The tutorials confused me. Nothing worked. And there's kids out there spending $80 on Mega Shark cards to go buy Lamborghinis, and I want to play, and I can't.
No, I missed the boat on it. It's evolved into a beast that I can't tame.
Oh, it's falling apart for like money making garbage. That orbital cannon crap they put in, like I don't even know, probably 2 years ago now. It costs $2 million in-game dollars to fire a single time, but it's a guaranteed instant kill anywhere on the map.
Yeah, dude, Grand Theft Auto 6, when that comes out, that's going to be at $20 a month just to play the game, and people will pay.
Oh, I know it.
And
People have been paying for World of Warcraft for 20 goddamn years.
I don't know if my brother still does. Brian, I don't know if you still do, but WoW was a big thing for a lot of my friends for a while.
I played a lot of WoW for a long time.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I knew a guy who had the statuette of his character for having 10 uninterrupted years of service.
Then they send
you a statuette of your primary character.
That is bad fucking ass.
Yeah, and it only costs what?
Do you get to approve of the statuette before? What if you were wearing like a joke outfit for something?
Oh, no, they ask you which is your main character.
Okay.
They ask you which one is your primary character, and then they send you an exact 3D model of that character as a statuette.
I love that.
Yeah,
Respect.
What is it, like $15 a month?
No, yeah, they owe you actually. They owe you a full-sized statuette with your 10 catchphrases.
By 12 months, by 10 years, that's a $2,000 statuette.
Didn't From do that with Let Me Solo Her? They sent him like a care package.
Oh, yeah.
They
sent him a statuette of his character and models of the katanas.
And a sword.
Yeah, we need to call out
That's awesome.
Let Me Solo Her as somebody who elevated themselves beyond just being another cooperator.
Oh, yeah, no, he became
A legend.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
A naked man.
A folk hero.
A folk hero. Who is this? Some guy just showed up in his underwear with a pot on his head and did the whole fight by himself. It was scary and amazing. That's the kind of thing you tell your friends on the playground and no one believes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's
my dad works at Microsoft of Elden Ring.
Santa went across the moon and then Reptile showed up on this certain map in Mortal Kombat. Like, no, they didn't. No guy was naked fighting Melania for you.
Without getting touched ever.
I knew non-gamers who knew who that was, and that's just how big Let Me Solo Her got.
God, it's so cool.
And sprouting 1,000 off branches like Let Her Solo Me.
Yeah.
The guy who runs in there with like a mop and just lets her kill him.
I like that too.
Yin and yang.
Yes. Yeah, but I remember when From Software they sent him like that model of his character and the katanas, and I remember looking at the images on Reddit of the package, and yeah, he helped. I don't have the numbers. I want to say it was like
There's a lot.
over 1,000 Melanias and over 1,000 Elden Beasts he's helped now too.
Yeah. They modded him into the game as an Ash of War at one point on Steam. There's you can have him as an Ash of War.
As a mod.
Oh, yeah.
Or as a summons. Yeah.
Okay.
As a summons, not an Ash.
Well, we'll get to mods in a second. A little bit more about the Coliseum. There's multiple kinds of combat. You have United Combat, divided into 2 teams to fight in timed battles with the ability to respawn. Death and respawn grants points to adversaries. 2v2 or 3v3 5-minute matches. 1 flask of each type per life, including a flask of Wondrous Physic. Cerulean and Crimson flasks can be replenished by dealing a killing blow. And then there's also Combat Ordeal. Every Tarnished fight for themselves. Deathmatch, 5 minutes. Otherwise, the same rules. That's what the Limgrave has. Lanedell has dual mode. No respawn, 1v1. No Crimson flasks. 3 flasks for FP. No heals. No Wondrous Physics. Just duels. And then Caelid is the previous 3 types, Combat Ordeal, Dual Mode, and United Combat, but everybody can summon Spirit Ashes. So then it becomes Pokemon in a really cool way. Because if you have 3v3 and everyone's summoning Spirit Ashes, that's a full arena right there. That's
Yeah, that's a lot going on.
especially if everyone summons giant rats. Can you imagine?
Or the demi-human mob.
It's chaotic.
Or the Great Shield.
Yeah.
group where you get 5 of those.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, it's just madness. Now, I've only dabbled in the Coliseum, but I like the trailer that they put out for it. It looks hype. It's such a different beast when you're going up against other players and their builds versus I know everything about this person, this demi-human I fought, 10,000 times. This person shows up wearing all these different armors, has weapons, and they're doing something unpredictable. So I get scared. Alexander, have you done any Coliseum?
I fought a couple duels, and I have a losing record. I have, in fact, probably never. I don't think I've ever beaten anybody in a duel. I'm not very good at it, but I did watch quite a few videos of a guy. I forget his name, but he was really fucking good. And watching people fight each other on YouTube was a lot more fun than just me getting my ass kicked.
It's one of those things where you just want to watch the highlights, the most badass, like top 10 plays.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's the hockeyfights.com of Elden Ring.
Hockeyfights.com.
Oh, yeah. Who needs to watch a whole game? I just want to see the fights.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. It's on Reddit now.
That's just where Reddit is. It used to be E-Bombs World or something to get that stuff.
Oh, my God. E-Bombs World. I forgot all about that.
And yeah, you can have rankings in each category. Have Bryant, you done a lot of the Coliseum at all?
I did it when they patched it in to test out my various builds, and no surprise, the cheese builds that I'd made did really well in the Coliseum. Kind of the builds that I do to challenge myself did not do so well. I've read that they now patch multiplayer differently, so they've been tweaking it a bit, but I haven't played it recently because I've been focused mostly on the co-op stuff. It's fun, but I don't do a lot of it anymore.
Yeah, they started doing that where they would have patches come in and certain weapons would function differently in multiplayer versus single player, which makes sense. I mean, Tarnished have much different strengths and weaknesses than the balanced world you created over 7 years, 6 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's mostly of what I had down for the multiplayer aspect. Does anyone have anything else that they want to throw in to discuss the multiplayer experience?
Just that it can make the game incredibly easy. If you're talking just PvE side of things, having 2 really good builds with really good weapons. So when I did my first co-op playthrough, my sister was learning the ropes, so it took us about 5 months to complete. This most recent one we completed, we had legendary armaments, we knew how to deal with the invaders, and we got it down to like a 2-month playthrough, and that was completing every catacomb, cave, tunnel, just all the content. So it can make the game
Twice.
really easy.
Worlds easier if you've got a competent co-op partner, especially bosses. It makes that health bump negligible.
Yeah, because I mean, as good as the Mimic tier is and as good as Tish is, they're never going to be as smart as a human. And so having a human using a really cool weapon and knowing the movesets can just make the game trivial.
Oh, and then you're talking about specializations too. The last playthrough I did on Seamless Co-op was borderline unfair. My partner was using super overcharged magic build. So they put everything into that. They had basically no health. Everything in the game could kill them in one hit. And I built my character into an impenetrable fortress vampire tank.
Yeah, man.
Where I was gaining health on every hit, and I had so much stamina I could poke with my little sword over my shield forever.
Yeah.
Plus the fingerprint shield with like a 96% guard boost. I could block every
shield.
attack in the game. Literally every attack in the game I could block through.
And seamless co-op is you don't have to load each instance in the catacomb. You can just run around the world together.
The seamless co-op mod is, I consider, one of the best mods ever made for this game, especially if you're interested, I mean, obviously, in playing with someone.
Yeah.
Because the vanilla co-op is so frustrating. You're region locked, so you can't travel between areas without disconnecting. If either of you die, they disconnect. If you beat any boss anywhere, you disconnect. You're talking about, 5 to 10 minutes of trying to resummon every time you attempt anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with seamless co-op, region walls are removed, disconnect on death is removed, disconnect on victory is removed, And when you die, instead of having to go through that loop of disconnecting and reconnecting, it essentially respawns you back at the most recent site of grace.
Is that if both of you die? It's just you keep going back to that site of grace.
If either of you die.
Yeah, both of you go back.
No. Whichever one died respawns back at the site of grace with an essence of rot.
That's the way to do it.
But it would give you random compounding rots.
The seamless co-op mod is great, but for console players like me, it's not always an option. So I will say it's tedious for sure, but summoning up someone once you have it worked out, it doesn't take more than a minute or less. I mean, it's pretty quick. And yeah, if the host dies, the person that got summoned in gets kicked back to their world, and they'll usually be at a grace. If the person who gets summoned in dies, they just go back to their world, and then that person who did the summoning, the host, they're kind of stuck in that instance. And if they get invaded, well, too bad. You can get up to 2 hunters to help you, but that's no guarantee. And we've had instances where, like, I'll use the finger severer because we're done doing whatever content we're doing, and then like my sister will get invaded, and she's just stuck like that. So the seamless co-op mod is definitely cool. I just wish it were an option for consoles.
Yeah, if it was, I think that'd be something that I would be doing all the time. If there was just a button that says play co-op with Tyler, and then Tyler's there, and we wave at each other, and then you can run across the whole map, and I didn't have to use 3 esoterically named finger items. Plus, yeah, you open yourself to invasions with regular co-op.
Yeah, you mentioned running across the map. That's interesting because in co-op, and this hasn't been mentioned, is you can't use torrent. So it makes certain bosses and things a challenge.
Yeah,
forgot
so
about that.
like in our co-op playthroughs, for instance, we typically don't do dragons in co-op just because not having torrent for a dragon fight is like just torture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish if they were to patch that they would add the ability to ride torrent. I kind of know why they don't because of the invaders and whatnot, but
Yeah, that goes down to a lot of single player stuff too. Like if you were to summon Alexander into the fire giant, you're losing torrent for that battle.
right.
Which as much as I love Alexander, I think I'd rather have torrent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
I'd take Torrent too.
You're not as cool as a horse to me.
It's a really fucking cool horse.
It's like a phantom demon horse that
Yeah.
was possibly Godfrey's horse. We don't know lore-wise. I think that's what I settled on. But we mentioned mods, and that seems like a really great segue. Mods are something that people do with video games outside of consoles, but you do a lot of mods, don't you?
Yeah, I get bored very easily, even with amazing games. So I just want to try different ways of playing them.
What was your first modding experience with Elden Ring? Like, what was you?
Oh, the first one I ever did was the seamless co-op.
Yeah.
Solely because I was trying to play through the whole game with my partner at the time, and we were just very frustrated with all of the annoying disconnects and the amount of time that you had to put into just being in the same instance was very frustrating to us, especially because at the time my partner was not very good at the game.
Heck, man, I've been there.
Doing that reconnect every 4 minutes,
Yeah.
especially on a tough boss. Like, it's Elden Ring. It's still a
Just put it on
FromSoft
Padawan
game.
mode,
You're still,
story mode.
especially later bosses, doing 10 to 15 attempts for some of those bosses, and adding that compounding time of reconnecting every battle just got really annoying.
Yeah. So seamless co-op was your first one.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to sound like a total loser. Do you go to a website? Is there a guy in an alleyway with a trench coat that says, "Yo, I got the Convergence mod"?
Most of these are all hosted on Nexus Mods. It's a website for uploading and downloading mod packs.
So it's like
I like
like
the-
Napster.
I like the idea more that you're like buying them in a shady alley, like you would buy a brain dance in Cyberpunk.
Well, that's the funny thing about it is, like, I'm not buying any of them. Almost all these mods are listed for free.
But are you ever worried that you might get something on a mod that would hurt your computer, or is that something that is screened, or you look at reviews?
That's another reason to use this website Nexus, because they screen everything that gets uploaded.
Okay, is there like the Bach is naked mod? Is that something that's on there too?
Promise you, whatever you're thinking, the mod exists.
I did find 2 really cool mods.
Sorry.
They have Thomas
The tank engine.
The tank engine replaces the horse for the tree sentinel guy at the beginning.
Well, that's great. That's what you mod for, I think.
Yep. And then the other one that I liked was they replaced the fire prelate.
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, you all know what I mean. With Shrek,
With Shrek.
Yeah, of course.
with the ogre.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what I like about mods. Like I remember I got into the modding community a little bit with Skyrim when they opened up mods for the consoles.
Yeah.
And I was always jealous of the computer guys because you had like Macho Man Randy Savage was all the dragons, and it was like a dragon Macho Man. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. Or just Charizard. Like you're just fighting Charizard instead of all the dragons. I think that's hilarious.
Well, and modders are like insane. They mod in like Sekiro bosses. They're able to like take things from other games. And I guess I don't know how it works, but they bend the code like Neo in the Matrix, and they put things that don't belong in Elden Ring and
Zuli the Witch did that with Armored Core 6 and put a bunch of those things into the lands between. That was crazy.
One of my favorite videos to watch, it's just from Elden Ring fights. And they'll have videos which is like the Caelid boss tournament. And they'll have all the bosses in Caelid fight one-on-one in like a tournament to see who comes out on top. Or they'll have like all of the demigods versus 10 Bloodhound Knights and see who falls to just like getting swarmed by knights or even just getting surrounded by ballista. It's interesting seeing all of the enemy AI just fight each other. It's like a dogfighting ring in a more humane way because it's just Godric and no one cares.
They all have stats and they all function the same way in the game. It's no different than watching sports. You're just watching a matchup that you enjoy. Like I used to watch Civilization playthroughs where somebody would fill up the map with a bunch of AIs and then just let it run. And then the streamer would like commentate on what's happening in the world. Oh, yeah. But you would just be watching the computer play the game. And there's something about that is just a lot of fun. If you like, it's no different than watching a football game for me.
Oh, for sure. I was that teenage kid that was doing the max level AIs on Super Smash Bros. In a tournament.
Yeah.
Just to see which character's moveset could win out.
And see what they do, see how they function.
Now with Chat GPT and all that, you can have all sorts of fun with AIs. I think there's a Twitch channel that I follow where it's just Trump versus Biden debate 24/7. It's pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh,
man, 24/7. It never stops.
Just back and forth.
These two president AIs just debate all day long.
It's like when you call Pizza Hut and Domino's, and then you put the phones together, and they're like, "Hello, welcome to Pizza Hut." It's like, no, this is Domino's.
Except and then you make them fight for an eternity.
Yeah.
Look, I'm telling you. We've had this debate 73 times.
Where am I? I don't know. I can't do a Biden impression. I cannot.
Hello, America.
Some other mods that you have used a lot. What else have you been using, Miles?
Besides the seamless co-op, the first one that I tried was the Evolved mod.
Okay.
Literally just called Elden Ring Evolved. And that was the one that I was telling you about forever ago. That's basically just one giant fuck you being implemented into the game, but also made it a lot more complex and interesting for me, right up until the fire giant.
But all of the bosses would be where you expect them, just more difficult versions.
This was not a randomizer mod. This was a enhancement mod. Yeah. Essentially, every armor piece, every armor set had some form of stat boosting ascribed to it. Some other hidden effect that it wouldn't necessarily tell you about, but you had to discover.
Okay.
For instance, completely blanking, the Black Knight set. What was it? The one that you get from the creepy assassin dudes.
The knights, the Nazgul.
That looking one.
That works.
Had a hidden
Why am I
passive
blanking on their names right now?
where if you were wearing the full set and you crouched, your character turned completely invisible.
I like that.
You had the effect of the invisibility spell.
Yeah, that's the Black Knife Assassin armor.
Yeah.
Oh, the Black Knife Assassin. I was thinking of the dudes.
No, yeah. So if you were wearing that full set in the evolved mod, which normally in the main game, if I remember, like mutes all footstep sounds.
Yeah.
It would actually fully make your character completely invisible while crouching if you were wearing the full set. Every weapon would have a random elemental effect assigned to it. Everything down to like a regular dagger would have fire damage added. Or
Do you know if that's something that would function as like a seed where when you start the game, there's a certain set, or is like everybody that plays this mod, it would always have this weapon does that?
for this mod, it was always the same.
Okay.
Yeah, they
because
weren't randomized at all.
There are
randomizers.
There
for
are
sure.
randomizers where like you can just have all the bosses in different spots. So you can go into Margit's arena and the fire giant's there and it doesn't work. But he's there.
Brad, I've had that happen, man.
Yeah?
My first run on a randomizer, I went into the Margit fight, and it was the Elden Beast. It was not a good time.
I've seen a YouTube video where somebody did a mod where every enemy was Melania.
Oh, God.
Pass.
I've seen the every enemy is Elden Beast before.
Man, that's a lot happening.
Every enemy is Bach.
Ugh.
That sounds like a good world that I want to live in. A better world anyways.
The Evolve mod did also have every spirit summon was replaced by a different enemy, and you wouldn't know what you were summoning.
You told me about that one a little bit at the bar.
Yeah.
Because, you said you summoned a dragon or something?
Yeah, I went to go fight. The first time I ever fought the fire giant, I went and got the Nomad Ashes and went to summon it because I figured, screw it, maneuverability. Except it didn't summon a Nomad. It summoned Placidusax. So I literally walked up to the fire giant, summoned the God King of Dragons.
Yeah, man. They're summoning Knights of the Round and FF7 or some shit, man. That's just going hard. That's Anima and 10.
Well, yeah, except Placidusax was not coded for that arena. His ankle glitched through the floor and then he disappeared.
So, Bryant, you do a lot of modding as well?
Not a ton. I do love to play around in that randomizer mod, though, because it will kind of force you to adapt, and you get to try out some weapons that you otherwise wouldn't try. So I dabble in that quite a bit.
I forget the term, and I'm on another podcast about speedrunning, and if they're listening, they're going to think that I'm a total hack. Because there's also, I've seen this at Games Done Quick, where people will be playing Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Super Metroid, and you can go between the games, and certain items for the other game will be like, you'll get certain missiles for Samus in Hyrule, and then you take that into the other one, and you go between the games. It's a randomizer between both games. We can find both items in the different games, which is just wild.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I love randomizers, and I love games that bake them in, like Bloodstained. If you play Ritual of the Night, they have randomizers built into the game where you can just set it so all the bosses drop different souls or the spirits. So cool. Hey, Alexander, can you reach inside of your jar belly and grab me a High Life? Oh, thank you.
You got it, bud.
I was going to ask if you wanted one of these.
I'll take one of those instead.
Keep
Yeah, here you
crushing
go.
these until they're gone. So if you want one, get one.
I'm drinking a Bee Nectar Strawberry Cream Delight mead with natural strawberry and vanilla flavors.
Bee Nectar actually slaps super hard. They make my favorite hybrids.
Don't drink a ton of mead. I should, though.
I am drinking the champagne of beers established in 1903. It's a Miller High Life.
The last time I had a friend come into my bar and order it as a champagne of beers, I made him drink it out of a flute.
I love it.
I wouldn't argue. No. I'd be fine.
I'm classy.
Now, I was interested because you also mentioned the other day that you got Convergence, which is supposed to be the mod to end all mods for Elden Ring.
To an extent.
It's like one of the most substantial ones.
What does that
for
do?
Sure. Convergence is... And I've only played a certain amount of it. I picked up a couple more about a week and a half ago to check them out. But Convergence is a massive overhaul of the entire game. There are 25, I think, different character classes to choose from. Each of those character classes, you start in the same church at the beginning, but as you exit the church, instead of going to fight the grafted scion, you actually get pulled into whatever your character's starting region is.
So if you want
That's
to be
gnarly.
a rot priest, you start in Kaled.
Yeah, you get dropped
As
right
an example
into
of
the
what a
rotten
class would be,
church.
rather than you always start in one spot, which is
See,
cool.
I like that kind of shit. That's cool.
They also give the option in this mod of refighting bosses that you've killed.
Please, I want that.
In the drop down section in the round table hold, where you would normally go down and fight that invader
Yeah.
at the bottom of the hall, that he's just gone. There's a single Abenoric there as a essentially punching bag that has infinite health.
Poor buddy.
The door that leads to the staircase.
Why did
is
they not put
open.
patches there? They could have put
They
patches
really
there.
should have, honestly. Just to beat 'em
Albanoric's
up
got a
forever.
rough life.
Yeah, I would have beat the shit out of Patches.
But then that giant statue of, I think it's not Melania.
The one of America?
I think so. The giant statue of America in that hall becomes a boss shrine.
I like
that you
that.
can interact with, similar to the Colosseum shrines. That it'll just put you right back into that boss arena and bring him back to life for you to fight again.
Do you have to beat the boss before you
Beat
could
them
summon?
first,
Yeah,
yes.
so you couldn't go beef up and like you couldn't go study the boss before you went to actually
No, not
go
at
fight
all.
him.
This
You
is just to
couldn't go
resummon
practice.
them. Yeah.
That's pretty gnarly.
It has class-based progression. Each class has its own unique progression path through the lanes between. It says you'll find more spells related to
Yeah,
your
kind of.
class. Something like that. It says where you can go to find other spells related to your
Right.
class.
It basically, whatever class you start as, that starting area will have two, maybe three things for you to pick up, little notes.
Yeah.
One of them will give you the location of armor sets for your character.
Yeah.
One of them will give you the locations of notable weapons for your character.
That's cool.
And if you're playing a character that has magic, you will start with what they call the faint rune of enter character class here.
Yeah.
And then it'll give you the location of the other runes, the other minor runes, and finding those items and using them will give you 4 to 6 spells or incantations of different tiers according to that character's layout.
That sounds gnarly. Do you have the list there?
Of what, the classes?
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge.
I just want to glance at it.
Yeah, there's like they have separate classes for gravity magic, lightning magic, the crystallian magic. They have one for rot. You can become the servant of rot. You can become the dragon priest cultists that use all gravelstone magic. Like they're all very specific.
That's awesome.
You can become the fire, the volcanic priests that use only magma sorceries. And all of their armor sets as well also give unique buffs.
That's awesome. That's the type of shit that modders think of is just like, you got people who have played the game, like the game, love it, and they're like, how can I make this better? How can I make this a more immersive experience?
Absolutely.
I remember hearing that about Skyrim and the fact that you don't have to do that same boring prisoner is on the cart. And it's instead like you're an Argonian who just arrived and you're at this certain location with certain items that describes your backstory a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's cool. And there's like different crafting. You can like in the Convergence, there's new equipment.
I played the Skyrim one at a buddy's house in Denver, or I think it was. And I started out as, I think I picked Brenton, and the game started me chopping wood. And I was like, this is awesome.
Can I stay?
Yeah. Do I have to go?
I just want to chop wood.
The only major issues I've discovered so far playing through this mod, depending on what character you have and where you are essentially forced to start, some parts of the map can become completely cut off. Because this mod tries to discourage region jumping or like the cheesy
Sequence
skits that we
breaking.
all use sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a giant wall blocking the broken bridge between Limgrave and Liornia. So you can't go around Stormvale at all.
That's
However,
okay.
Well, and I've seen too where this Convergence mod, it will start you in Altus, and like, can you get back down from Altus? Like if you start the game there?
well, that's what I'm saying. I was essentially locked in. With that character that I started, the rogue, I cannot access Limgrave, Kaled in any way.
That's-
because you can't go backwards into Stormvale. The door remains locked. I can't go back up the bridge.
Can you go through underground and reemerge in the forest in Limgrave?
Possibly, I haven't found a route yet because all those skips are blocked off.
Man, you have to go down through the sewers in Lane Dell,
Possibly.
and you have to go back through the Shifra River and the cities. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because the throne room door is not open until you beat Godric, but if you're dropped on the
wrong
other
side,
side, you can't even get in and
back
fight
through.
him.
No,
You can't get through there. I've tried that.
The underground one, you can't get through there?
Well, the underground one behind Stormvale, it does not actually lead you into the Godric arena. It stops short.
yeah, because you drop down.
Damn.
Yeah. So essentially, you're forced to just continue progression from wherever you start in the linear sense of the game. You just have to keep going forward.
What are some of the wildest mods you've seen for Elden Ring? Is there anything that jumps out when I ask that question?
I mean, the Evolved has multiple quote-unquote difficulty modes, for sure. There's one that they literally just called Hell Mode.
Okay.
Every enemy has 3 times as much health, deals twice as much damage.
This game is not tough enough. It needs to definitely be
Every projectile, whether it's arrows or spells, travels at double speed, fires 3 projectiles, and has increased tracking. So they essentially become homing beacons.
tougher. Yeah.
Meaning nothing's ever going to
every-
miss you from sprinting. You have to dodge it perfectly.
Everything is an ancestral follower's arrow.
Exactly. Except the ancestral follower's arrows now move also twice
my
as fast
God,
and
those-
fire 3 and home in on you.
Those giant fucking lobsters shoot faster, further, and more.
You can't even
and deal
dodge it.
twice as much damage.
That's just no
Yeah.
fun.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
That's
stop
what I was
that.
saying before. Why the fire giant is such a huge wall in that mod, because he essentially becomes a one-hit kill machine with 2 million goddamn health.
I love it. And I mean,
And it completely reworks all of the elemental effects as well. So bleed no longer does as much damage. Scarlet Rot does half as much damage.
whatever worked and you liked using doesn't work.
Whatever way you could think like, 2 million's not that much health. No, you can't.
This mod is made for people who are like, I like my coffee black, but this isn't black enough. And then they grab like motor oil and they're like, there we go. That's what the doctor
This mod is
ordered.
made for people who drink Turkish coffee like it's cold brew.
Yes, that's what the doctor
That's a really
ordered.
good way to put it.
Miles, does it make Madness or Deathblight viable against the PvE?
Not even kind of. Madness still only affects the Tarnished themselves. Deathblight essentially becomes what Bleed used to be, where it does a decent chunk, but it can only proc once or twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they still, like, the whole Madness only affecting human scale Tarnished still applies. The Deathblight barely affecting most enemies in the game still applies.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Even though it gives the entire animation, both in the Reforged mod and the Convergence mod, it's possible to access death sorceries right from the beginning. That's one of the many classes on Convergence. You can start the game with like 3 different Deathblight spells, but the Deathblight still does almost nothing.
Well, some people choose to have jobs that are incredibly irrelevant, you know? Yeah. I work only in VHS rental. It's like, you got a tough class ahead of you, bro.
But the Deathblight, it's so metal. It'd be so cool to do a build based around Deathblight, you know?
Oh, absolutely. They do make it slightly more viable in that you can actually get equipment that buffs the efficiency of Deathblight spells and the overall damage, particularly Fia's set, of course.
Yeah.
The Fia set grants a flat percentage buff to all Deathblight sorceries in Convergence, but not enough to make it like game-breakingly useful.
And I'm sure that they've modded Fia's underwear back into the game too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all,
you know
I mean,
that's
there's
there.
like 12 mods for
There's
that.
the first thing you do is Thomas the Tank Engine. Second thing, put that underwear in there.
If you got time, throw Shrek.
Then
Turn the dragon
Shrek is
into a
number
giant
3.
tank,
Yeah.
satin panties, then Shrek.
Has anyone got Macho Man covered? Because he.
I want a mod where I could play as Alexander, but instead of having the flasks, I would have to eat things to like fill my health back up.
I would actually love that. I
That'd
would
be it.
love
They would also
a jar warrior
With
as
Chat
a mod
GPT,
class.
like have him like form new dialogue and then just run with it.
They'd have to actually show then. Does Alexander just take his top hat off and shove arms and legs into the top
yeah.
of his body?
Oh yeah,
100%, yeah.
Because we haven't seen it.
I think he unplugs himself and then
Uncorks himself?
he just ollie oops.
They show it after Radahn's fight. after you kill Radon, you can see Alexander scooping up guts.
That is true. Picking up the
You see him
pieces.
scrounging, but I want to see the top of his head open, and I
just want to see him take his top off.
and I want to take one of Godric's hands and just Kobe it into them. You know?
I didn't know how badly I wanted a Warrior Jar class mod right now for Elden Ring.
I want it too. I mean, it exists. There's a model of it fighting. They must be able to get it working.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you
no
just
doubt
need
it.
somebody with determination now and some spare time.
I mean, somebody modded an F-16 fighter jet into that goddamn game as your mount.
Someone put a Thunderbird in Red Dead Redemption 2. Like you can just drive around Red Dead in a Thunderbird. It's,
Somebody put an actual Abrams tank as a replacement for Torrent. I guarantee
Yeah.
someone can make this Warrior Jar mod.
So wild. Yeah, I'm excited for our speedrunning episode too, to learn about the game-breaking glitches and the way to get around some of the environments,
Oh, yeah.
which that's coming up as well.
Like the free kills on the Knights Cavalry.
Free kills.
There's at least 2 that you can trick into jumping off the side of a bridge.
I know they used to be able to get Radon to jump off of the map.
Oh, yeah. Right into the water.
See, he can't swim, so if he goes 4 feet deep, he's dead.
it's just game over for him.
Yeah.
He can turn himself into a meteor, but he's like shallow water. Yeah, that's my kryptonite.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, there's got to be some movie character that just like can't swim. Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. He's got all the superpowers in the world, but he can't swim in 3 feet of water. While we're on the online experience, though, I also just wanted to mention Twitch, podcasts, YouTubers. Like, that's all part of the online experience as well. We're the best podcast for Elden Ring, but there are other ones. I listen to Bonfireside Chat. I love those guys so much. I used to Watch Out for Fireballs was the first podcast I ever listened to. Are there any podcasts that y'all listen to besides Elden Dogs religiously?
I just second Gary and Cole. Those guys are great.
You ever met them before?
Not in person, no. I've been on the Slack, but that's about it.
Yeah, Gary and Cole are great.
I've listened to the McElroy brothers talk about Elden Ring, but it wasn't on their podcast. It was just YouTube.
I know.
I was going to say I don't podcast much, but I watch a lot of really dumb Elden Ring YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, what dumb Elden Ring YouTube do you like to watch?
One of my favorites, both for modded content and speedrunning content, is called Lil Aggie.
He's the #1 Twitch streamer. I
Yeah.
looked it up today.
He's really entertaining, and he does a lot of really great like modded speedrun playthroughs. He does a lot of those like randomized bingo playthroughs.
Okay, explain bingo playthroughs to those that don't know. It's cool. I like them.
It's a really great. Essentially, they all load into a randomizer at the same time with a fixed seed. So they're all playing in the same world state.
So they don't know what the randomizer is, but everyone's got the same randomizer. Yeah.
And then they get a bingo card full of random tasks that they have to achieve. Beat 6 remembrance bosses, defeat this specific character, collect X amount of smithing stone 10s, get the ancient somber dragon stone. Like all these random achievements that they can do in the game. And then they're all racing at the same time in the same world state to get bingo before anyone else.
And then they find out what the randomizer is, and they're like, oh, shit.
Well, and
Yeah.
it becomes like a routing thing too, where you can see like, all right, what's my best option? Do I want to do defeat the 3 demi-human queens and get the 3 ancient dragon smithing stones? Or is it better to go down to Weeping Peninsula and do this? But you also don't know where a lot of things are.
Right.
So you can see what somebody else has done. So you know like, oh, that's where that is. Mental note. Yeah, those races are really fun. And they're
super entertaining.
They're really wild. You don't know what's going to come. Do you have a YouTuber you'd like to call out, Bryant?
Well, a lot of them were mentioned on the Discord, like Smoketown for lore. One that I really like is Nizar GG for his builds, because he does not only interesting builds, but they're always like thematic. Like he did a Pyramid Head build from Silent Hill 2.
Oh, that's gnarly.
The
Had
Great Hood?
butcher knife and the big helmet. Yeah. And it looked exactly like it. It was dope. So he's fun to watch. He's mostly doing other content now, but he's got a lot of build videos that
I
are worth
love
checking out.
looking at the different builds on Reddit. Like someone's like, I made Danny DeVito in Elden Ring. I'm like, this is what this is for. This is
Yeah.
why I come to Reddit.
I watched a guy beat the game as Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah.
And everyone felt weird about it.
Wolverine build.
Yep.
Yeah, I love those build videos.
I'm sure you were going to mention him, but Vati.
Yeah, they're great.
Oh, hell yeah.
Vati's probably my favorite Elden Ring content creator.
My favorite
there.
for lore, absolutely.
Yeah, his videos are so cinematic.
His prepare to cry videos are so cinematic. They're amazing.
Yeah, they're like little short films.
Well, it's different too for Elden Ring. I feel like his game just jumped up like 10 times because I used to watch his Bloodborne stuff and they're great. But for Elden Ring, you'll see one that's like an hour and a half describing, the ancestral lore, and they'll have custom art, custom music.
Right.
I'm like, what the? You were just making a feature-length film right now.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, he got like Hans Zimmer in on it, and it's just like he's really putting some production value behind it nowadays.
Voiced by Leo DiCaprio as Bach.
as Bach.
That's the secret. I think Vadi is sort of crowdsourced some of the stuff that he's not good at, and gotten some really talented creators in on his content, and it's fantastic.
Next level. We mentioned Zuli the Witch before. Zuli is the best bite-sized content, I find. If you want a 3-minute video where Zuli just says, you know what's weird about the stone golems? And they just describe, and it's never them talking. It's just like, I have to pay attention when I watch their videos. Sometimes you put a YouTube video on and you're like, free to space out. Zuli, you have to read. So it's nice that I actually focus for once. But they'll just focus in on, did you know that there are eyes growing up on these plants in Limgrave? And I'm like, shit, what does this mean, Zuli? What are we talking about here, Zuli? And I love their content. They're really good.
Yeah, they are.
Tarnished Archaeologist was called out by Claire and Judge Tempest. I feel like they're on the level of Hardcore History when it comes to this stuff. If you don't know Hardcore History, they're a podcast.
Dan Carlin. Yeah.
Dan Carlin, the GOAT.
And oh man, I listen to that and I feel so elevated. Like, I feel like I'm drinking the finest whiskeys in the world. And even though I don't know how to appreciate the finest whiskeys, I'm still there and I'm hanging.
Still aware that it is the...
Yeah, Vikings, man. Wow. Christians really messed them up, huh?
He's just got such a good way of talking. I could listen to him like read like a terms and service agreement from Apple.
You agree to give your firstborn child.
And I was like, yes, more.
And then I come home and I'm like, Carly, did you know that there was a Viking named Lufa?
Mom, can I tell you about Scipio Africanus and how he helped beat Carthage?
Yeah, Tarnished Archaeologist, he will do a video, on just like the choir in Bloodborne, and it's an hour talking about ancient Roman history. And I was like, I'm trying so hard here. I'm putting all of my brain cells, all 20, into the same lane, and I'm focusing, and I get some of it. I understand some of those words. He's great, but that's somebody who, if I am not in the mood to pay attention, I won't get any of their stuff. We mentioned Radivend and Elden Ring fights. Are there any other big YouTubers that y'all like to watch?
Yeah, I think that about covers them.
Yeah, Judge Tempest also mentioned Sinclair Lore, which they're very much a silly... I watched one of their videos. They're like a silly podcast style YouTuber. They're good.
I know you probably are going to mention Fextra, but he does a lot of interesting videos with the weapons. Like, this weapon is OP, and he did one for each of the weapon series, and that's really useful. I liked that.
They're awesome. Fextra Life, though, it's not just a person.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. But the guy that does the videos for Elden Ring.
Is it one guy that does the videos for Fextra?
So he did a video talking about how Elden Ring was the greatest game ever. And he mentioned that he did over 100 builds himself. So I know it's a team over there, but the guy doing the videos, he's put a lot of hours in Elden Ring.
Yeah, Fextra Life has been invaluable to this podcast.
Fightin' Cowboy helped me. He does walkthroughs of areas. So parts where I was stuck or I was afraid I was going to miss stuff because we were going to be covering a region after I played. I would watch his videos just to get a better understanding of what we were going to be talking about, even if I had made it through the area, because he will go through and show you where every single thing is, or not every single thing, but everything worth picking up.
Yeah, because he'll do a live stream where a bunch of people will like help him out with a game so that he can prep a walkthrough. So they can cover a lot of ground pretty quickly. I think he did an 80-part walkthrough of Elden Ring within the first 6 months of the game being out.
Yeah, and I watched probably half of them.
It's amazing. I'd have to call out Dom's Roundtable as well. They were a guest for our Lanedale Royal Capital episode. They have videos, which is like everything you missed, every single item in a location. And that's the first time I learned about a lot of like the weirdly placed things like behind the Bestial Sanctum that you can drop down. And there's like an item way down all those cliffs. Dom's Roundtable is great. Female content creators. Miss Chalice, really great lore videos. Park and Harbor, they do a lot of great gameplay as well. I'm not on Twitch. You mentioned Little Aggie, but there's a lot of like Twitch speedrunners.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know any of them really.
I don't know any of them well enough because Aggie's stuff is way too entertaining.
Yeah.
I ended up just watching like most of his videos for speed runs and challenge runs.
Mm-hmm. Challenge runs are cool. I haven't really watched any for Elden Ring, but I know someone did a no damage Elden Ring, all 3 Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, and they beat all of them without taking a single hit.
That's insane.
Aggie did one of those, yeah.
Was it Aggie?
Yeah, he did one of them. He called it a developer run, where he beat all of the games all the way through without taking a single hit.
One of the really great YouTubers that covers Elden Ring is Iron Pineapple, and he's done a lot of cool challenge runs. Like he did one where he was completely over encumbered the entire time and just had to crawl through the game. I mean,
that's hilarious.
That's masochistic.
And I'm not talking fat rolling. Like he was full on overburdened to where he couldn't even dodge. Like it was crazy.
Cannot roll, cannot jump. He had to go and get the Lion's Fang Ash of War to get over one part in the snowfield where you
That's
have to
dedication.
He had to go get an Ash of War to get that vertical movement.
Living in slow motion.
Doug, I think his name's Doug. He's a streamer. He did a play. I don't know if it was a full playthrough, but he played for a while where whenever he died, he had to drop the weapon that he was using.
I like that.
So then when he respawned, he had to go find another weapon. So he would try to bank weapons.
Right.
In order to like, otherwise, you know, you're stuck fist fighting like Margot at one point.
I've seen Little Aggie do a couple of the randomizer playthroughs where you have to use whatever you pick up. So he'd be right about to fight a big boss with a +7 somber weapon and then pick up a dagger and have to use that.
Then I wouldn't pick up anymore. I'd just be like, that's it.
Yep. I got what I wanted.
I got the Blood Veil, whatever it is. Moon Veil. I got the Moon Veil katana.
The Blood Veil. You're just pulling back old build nicknames.
I'm just grabbing random adjectives and nouns and throwing them together. That's how they make
That's just
games,
Let
right?
Me Solo Her. That's the Blood Veil right there. The Rivers of Blood Veil.
I read
Rivers of Blood Veil. Is that the sequel to Riverdale?
It's a way more exciting sequel to Riverdale.
He almost got a spit take out of me.
I don't have a lot else to say about the online experience. It's been great interacting on the subreddits. I mean, I don't do a lot of posting, but I love jumping onto the Elden Ring subreddit. I love interacting on our Discord with the community. And there's a little bit of the real world experience as well, where when the game came out, I was talking with strangers about the game nonstop, which was fun as fuck. But did you guys have anything else you wanted to add about the online experience for Elden Ring?
I'm going to try it one of these days. Probably give it a shot.
No, you won't.
The seamless co-op is something that if I had the capability of actually doing it, that intrigues me a lot.
Your
And
dog would eat your computer.
He would. Or the Convergence, that's the one with the multiple classes.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting. I just wish they would come to consoles because I can't afford a PC.
It blows my mind that more developers aren't doing native mod support, especially for like consoles. Like it was so popular with Skyrim when they finally brought over like anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, if they brought that randomizer mod to consoles, I would play Elden Ring non-stop.
Oh, you're telling me.
Or like a boss arena. If they just were able to patch in a boss rush mode where you could just like fight all the bosses and just set up whatever weapons or use any characters you wanted, I'd love that.
Well, it's just a question of taking cues from your community at this point. Basically, everybody who's ever tried it prefers seamless co-op to vanilla co-op.
Right.
And Miyazaki's just taking a hit of a
Years
blunt,
later,
and he's
yeah.
like, "Nope."
Not a chance. Just they know.
Give him a message. Give him 25 words. It's gonna be fucking awesome, dude.
We got a DLC coming out. They'll forget all about it.
Right. It is worth mentioning, I forgot to say earlier, the Convergence mod is the only one I've played so far that actually modifies the map as well. Rather than just being a question of like different item sets, adding a ton of items and spells and things, there are regions of the map that are physically different.
That's insane.
Whether it's just adding bosses or walls to block off shortcuts, there's entire sections that they build new ruins or new fortresses in,
That's absolutely wild.
or entirely new teleporters that take you to different regions of the map.
Well, I guess a lot of those fortresses already feel like that they were made by somebody just cloning, copy and pasting different aspects of the rooms. So I guess it makes sense.
But yeah, just completely different areas where I'm walking along, and it had been long enough that since I'd done a fresh playthrough, that I started the Convergence mod as the follower of Rot. Spawn in Caelid, go down to the Caelid waypoint ruins, and I'm like, wait, that wasn't a castle before, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there was a fort there in the middle of the road.
Uh-huh.
And then it's just an entirely new micro-sized legacy dungeon that you just kind of have to figure out.
Love it. Tyler, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that I'm just about tapped out in a subject that I don't know anything about. I know a lot more now.
How about you, Bryant?
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
We are so happy to have you on. Ever since you joined our community and got on the Discord, you have had a big knowledge of Elden Ring that I've enjoyed drawing on. And when I have a question, I have somebody that'll answer it. And I appreciate that. So
Yeah, happy to.
thank you for joining us, joining the Elden Dogs.
Love this game. Yeah, it's been great.
Miles, do you have do you want people to find you? Do you have anything you want to plug? Any social medias is what I should say. Not like,
really.
do you want to put out your home address?
Yes, let's go. No, I don't know. Coming to Whale. We're doing the Elf pop-up starting on Friday. If you're in Milwaukee, it's going to be dope. It's about all I got to plug these
Fuck
days.
yeah. I also want to check out the Pufferfish pop-up as well.
Yeah. Pufferfish, our sister bar, is the first bar in Milwaukee to get the Sippin' Santa pop-up, which is essentially the tiki-style offshoot of the Miracle on 2nd Street that's been coming here for years at Tin Widow. So they just started up last week. I got to try some of the cocktails. They're really, really great, except for the ones that are way too holiday spiced.
Yeah, you could have like one.
Yeah, it's
One
just
of
kind of a
those.
staple of the genre. You take tiki, which is already very fruity and sweet, and you add Christmas, which is very spiced and sweet, and then you just got a clusterfuck. But
Eggnog
overall,
and rum. Just eggnog and rum.
oh no, I'm making that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Oh, I'm doing. We do a scratch eggnog at Whale for all of December, and it's amazing.
I might have to stop in and get that then.
I'll be whipping that meringue for 47 minutes tomorrow afternoon.
Well, we're here at the Dogcast. You can find Tyler at Oat Brewing. Ask for Tyler and then stalk him.
Don't do that.
Or don't do that. In fact, you can find him wherever fine jars are sold. Here at the Dogcast exists because of people like you. Thanks for listening. If you have questions or thoughts about this episode, we're on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we're on Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, and we will respond. If you message us, we would be happy to talk with you. Here at the Dogcast at gmail.com. And if you want access to these episodes well in advance, you can check out our Patreon, which is patreon.com/hearthedogcast. This episode is going to have been out for probably at least 3 months, maybe before it reaches the main feed. And that's pretty fucking cool. We're going to already be done with the DLC laughing, speedrunning the bosses, and you have just heard it for the first time. And you could have been cool and checked out patreon.com/hearthedogcast. Special thanks to executive producers Rykard Kristianik, Malekith the Blackblade, Blackguard Big Brian Ward, Jordan Hoslow Sorceress of Blood, Festering Fingerprint Phil Wright, Primeval Sorcerer Philium Birkin, Knights Cavalry Coldo Gardno, and Bell-Bearing Hunter Bryant Ross. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon at the executive producer level. If we missed any of your favorite content creators, please let us know. If we missed any mods that are worth talking about, we would love to talk about them in another episode at some point. So reach out to us. Thanks again, Tyler, for your continued love of Elden Ring.
Oh, absolutely. And if anybody makes that Alexander mod, I want credit on that. You now know where to find me.
You got to give him credit. Thanks again, Miles. Thanks again, Bryant. We'll see you guys next time.